The turn of the century marked a big shift on the American car market. The boom of retro-modern automotive styling. The Volkswagen Beetle came back. Muscle cars like the Ford Mustang, Chevrolet Camaro, and Dodge Challenger returned to their boxy roots. The Chrysler PT Cruiser and Plymouth Prowler brought back those bug-like front ends. The Chevrolet SSR absolutely begged to be covered in flames, flags, and custom paint jobs. The Ford Thunderbird even tried to return, but it's 2025 now, and all those cars have either left the market or evolved so significantly that they're not so retro anymore. Thus, the question becomes, are retro modern cars dead? Or is their new era just beginning?
Volkswagen was on the forefront of the early 2000s retro modern kick when the company debuted the new era Beetle in 1998. Nearly 30 years later, we have a new retro modern step from Volkswagen, the ID.Buzz, an electric van styled after the iconic Volkswagen Bus. Is this a start of a new retro modern era, or is this just an outlier marketing ploy? The answer is not so straightforward, but I do think the ID.Buzz can tell us a lot about what the future may hold. I was a kid when the early 2000s retro modern renaissance happened, and by the time I was in high school, I knew one person with a retro white and pink Mustang, with their name above the driver's door even, and another person with a bright green retro Beetle. Even the Chrysler PT Cruiser, which had divisive styling and not so great performance, sold like wild. That is because it committed to the bit and it was cheap. From those three 2000s era cars alone, we have learned a lot about retro modern vehicles. To succeed, they either need to be high performance or perceived to have high performance, highly quirky, like this car, and or highly affordable. And that tells us a lot about what future retro modern cars need to be. The 2010s and 2020s have produced some really great cars. In the past year alone, I've driven the Lamborghini Revuelto, Hyundai Elantra N, the Honda Civic Type R, all kinds of really lovely cars. But in general, the roads have been dominated by new cookie-cutter SUVs. I know you've seen the meme that all crossovers look the same these days, and I know you probably agree. Largely, automakers put out what the market demands. And right now in America, people are demanding large, spacious, do-it-all vehicles. That means we end up with a sea of crossovers and SUVs that are really capable but lose their quirkiness. And all we end up competing on is price, features, and colors. This becomes even murkier as we move into an era of electric vehicles, because so much of the driving experience in an electric commuter car is so similar from vehicle to vehicle. So how do we make them interesting? How do we make them quirky? And how do automakers get people to buy their EV over someone else's? The Volkswagen ID.Buzz has one answer: by being extremely quirky. This van has horizontally sliding rear windows, accelerator and brake pedals with play and pause logos on them, and front cup holders with a bottle opener. The Volkswagen ID.Buzz commits to the bit, just like the PT Cruiser did. And electric vehicles give us a kind of configurability to make retro modern cars like this that we didn't have with gas engines. When you have an electric powertrain, you can put it in different shapes. You can put the batteries in the floor and create a big bus with a flat floor like this because there's no transmission tunnel running through it. When you have a traditional engine, you have to put that engine somewhere and you have to build the car around it, but you don't have those same constraints with electric vehicles. Do you want a big electric brick like this ID.Buzz? You can have that. Do you want a tank like the GMC Hummer EV? You can make that too. Do you want a retro modern sports car with an elongated hood? I'm sure you could do that. Do you want something with no nose at all? Look at the ID.Buzz. The only really obvious things I think the Volkswagen ID.Buzz is currently missing are those thin chrome side mirrors that the original Volkswagen Bus had. Instead, we have these big, thick mirrors. American laws currently require vehicles to have actual mirrors right here, but we're seeing more and more concept cars with camera wings on the side instead of traditional mirrors, and our partner Magna makes them.
Magna's camera system is called ClearView, and it can integrate feeds from a bunch of cameras, different angles, cropped views, even trailer cams, right into the mirror display. In markets where side cameras are legal instead of side mirrors, those feeds integrate into ClearView too. Because cameras are smaller than mirrors, they cut aerodynamic drag and make a vehicle more efficient, though they're not yet legal in the United States. What we do have in the United States are digital rearview mirror displays in certain vehicles. And fun fact, to keep the image sharp through the rear glass under changing light conditions, the screen behind the mirror has to be very bright. Magna says the ClearView display you see in this video is about as bright as an iPhone 15 Pro and meets Apple's Retina standard.
Current and future car technology is fascinating, and Magna allows us to learn about it and teach you about it. And I absolutely love doing that. If you want to see more of Magna's stuff, you can check Magna out on YouTube and on social media. The Volkswagen ID.Buzz is not cheap. In America, it starts at about $60,000, and this base Pro S trim has 0 paid options. After fees, the total price is $61,545. But if you want the fancy first edition top trim, your MSRP is going to start at about $70,000. If we've learned anything about retro modern vehicles, it's that cheapness and affordability is only one pillar, and it is not necessary. What is necessary is for automakers to go all in, and the ID.Buzz is proof of that. This vehicle is available in a bunch of really cool two-tone paint jobs, but earlier in 2025, reports came out about the fact that the single-tone paint jobs, like this black one I'm driving, were not moving off of dealership lots in America. Now, when Volkswagen of America was making these ID.Buzzes, production restrictions in Germany actually made it to where a lot of these vehicles came out in single tones: white, silver, black. That's probably why I have a black one right now. But Volkswagen found that they weren't moving off the lot. Automotive News reported about this, and Volkswagen began offering $1,500 dealer incentives to wrap these things in two-tone because they found that when they got wrapped in two-tone, they started moving off the lots. Because honestly, I look at this car and it is just not the ID.Buzz that I pictured. When I'm driving this one, I feel like I'm driving an airport shuttle, and I feel like I should be driving a highlighter yellow retro van. And I'm just not, and I get why they weren't moving. We have seen a huge example of this non-commitment with the new electric Dodge Charger. That vehicle swapped a Hemi V8 motor for electric ones, and despite the fact that you can manufacture electric vehicles to be all-wheel drive, but easily switch between all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, and rear-wheel drive with the push of a button, that Dodge Charger cannot currently do a burnout. And the internet lit up about this because the internet had one expectation of a Dodge Charger: do a burnout, and it could not do it. On the other hand, the electric Hyundai Ioniq 5N, which had no prior expectations, ripped onto the market with a hyper-realistic driving setting that mimics the sounds, shifts, and power cuts of a gas sports car. That lit up the internet in a great way because this car had a personality and it had a bit and it committed. As a car enthusiast, I like electric vehicles. But given the choice, I am probably always going to go for my manual gas-powered 2004 Mazda Speed Miata because I love the way it drives. But EVs present a really cool opportunity for the future. One where we can make cars in different shapes and sizes and colors and stylings and quirkiness, yet still promise a similar, smooth, lovely driving experience from vehicle to vehicle. Will the Volkswagen ID.Buzz kick off a retro modern renaissance like the Beetle did 30 years ago? I don't know, but I do appreciate the effort. We usually do car reviews on this channel, but today was more just a conversation about the future and what it holds. But I do know that in our car reviews, we have a couple of expectations. The first is how many Atlantises fit in this Volkswagen ID.Buzz's trunk. Now, this trunk does not have the usual well that minivans have, which I really enjoy because when you have a well in a minivan, you can fit more stuff. But I do fit in here all right, and I think you could easily stack about 2.5 Atlantises high. The second expected thing from any car review is Atlantis' report card. And although this is not a traditional car review, if you are looking at the ID.Buzz, I want to give you a few quick points on what I think about it. The exterior on this vehicle is an A-. I think it's great. I love the retro modern styling, but we get a minus on this particular one because it's black and I feel like I'm driving an airport shuttle. The interior on this is a little harsh because I think the ID.Buzz is quirky and fun and cool. But I'm giving the interior a C+. It has some cool functionality features, and I like the bottle cap opener in the cup holders. But the inside is so plasticky. It has no 360 camera. It has no electrochromic roof. And you have all of these capacitive touch buttons. Why am I pressing a piece of shiny plastic and dragging my finger and getting no feedback to adjust the volume? It's just not the best on the inside, and it could be a lot better. The performance on the ID.Buzz is a B+, is a very smooth driving experience. I enjoy it a lot, but I'm giving points off for the roughly 230-mile range. The value is a B. This is kind of hard to discern because of the fact that this is an electric minivan, and a lot of the minivans you see and all of the minivans on the American market still have a gas element to them, and they start at about $40,000 versus this at $60,000. But $60,000 for a quirky 8-seater is not too bad. Would I take the ID.Buzz on a road trip? I absolutely would. I would just really plan out my chargers because again, 230-ish mile range. And overall, the ID.Buzz gets a B. I like it a lot. I love the color choices. I love so many things about it. But there are some issues with the interior that I think could have easily been solved.
Retro cars sell because of a sense of nostalgia. Kids grow up, fall in love with the things around them, then join the workforce and have buying power for those things. Retro modern vehicles let us reminisce among modern comfort features, and they make sense.
The future of electric vehicles can go a few different ways. Down one path, we get a sea of vehicles that all look, feel, and drive the exact same way. And down the other, we use the configurability of electric platforms to make cool, interesting, quirky vehicles like this one. And I know which path I would prefer.